Today I am flying on one of the best deals in the sky. Join me on my first Allegiant flight. Welcome to Portland International Airport, where in 1974, the airport was served by the likes of Braniff, Cascade, Continental, Eastern, Hughes, Northwest Orient, Pan Am, United, and Western, at least according to Wikipedia. Anyways, today we are trying Allegiant Air's domestic economy product for the very first time. I say that like there is an international product, but there's not. The aircraft rolling on your screen now is registration N245NV, taking me down to the other city in Idaho that is about a seventh of the size of Boise. That is, Idaho Falls. I'll be completely honest with you, the Portland airport has provided a very good first impression to me, as I was stuck here for about 4 hours or so on a connection before this flight. But just like all good things, it's time my adventures here come to an end, as I board this big metal bird for 1 hour and 15 minutes of minimum luxury and half-decent window views. Welcome aboard my very first Allegiant flight, equipped with 186 Acro Series 3 slimline seats in a single cabin configuration. While Allegiant does have extra legroom seats, I was already over budget having to fly into Idaho Falls rather than Boise, so I stuck with being crammed in the back. Without further ado, let's see what we've got. My seat today is 17.7 inches wide with 28.5 inches of pitch. The seat does not have any recline, but it does have an oil pan that's smaller than a raccoon's imagination, serving as a tray table for the flight. The seat contents include the usual safety card, but also include an in-flight magazine, which makes Allegiant one of the only US carriers to still offer this. I don't know about you, but I don't mind these ad-induced magazines, so as long as there's a route map in there. The trip was one of my most challenging trips to book, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to make all the work and effort put into making this video worthwhile. I make almost weekly flight reviews of airlines across the globe, and the only thing missing from this channel and its community is you.
Prohibited at all times. Federal regulations require passengers to observe these signs and comply with crew member instructions. It is a federal offense to tamper with, disable, or destroy a laboratory smoke detector. At this time, securely fasten your seatbelt, stow your tray table, and all carry-on items as we prepare for takeoff.
Allegiant was founded back in 1997 and is the 14th largest airline in the US. A little fun fact, the airline was originally called WestJet Express, but after WestJet Air Center came to smite the company, they changed the name to what we all know and love today. With its first flight on October 15, 1998, the airline has since grown to have a whopping 22 airport bases across the country, with a total of 131 aircraft in its fleet. All of this information is from Wikipedia, so it may or may not be fully up to date, so take it as you will. And we are on our way to Idaho Falls. To start the flight off, the crew came around with some drinks and snacks that were not free. If you have watched my content for a while, you'll know that if it's not free, it's not for me. Safe to say, I opted out of the service to avoid losing more money than necessary. To make up for it though, there was no Wi-Fi on the flight, and no IFEs or personal device entertainment that I could find, so I decided to daze out the window for most of the flight. When it comes to how Allegiant compares to the likes of other ultra-low-cost carriers such as Frontier and Spirit, I personally think they have a great product. Allegiant isn't the cheapest ULCC, but it does provide a cheap secondary options like this flight, and that can save your trip when the legacy airlines are too expensive. And Frontier and Spirit refuse to fly to small airports. Allegiant's heart and soul is at really tiny airports, and I do believe that's what makes them stand out. Between the three, I'd still probably choose Spirit, simply because they've provided me the best customer service and offer Wi-Fi and a wider variety of products, such as the big front seat. But when it comes down to it, I really don't mind any of the US ultra-low-cost carriers, and I almost always check to see if they can offer a cheap alternative to a minor connection on my trips. One curious thing about Allegiant is that for an airline with 130 plus aircraft, they don't offer connections while booking. It's all either point-to-point or round-trip flights. This wasn't a problem on this flight per se, but I would love to see the airline consider adding connections on their website, as a large portion of my trips depend on having connections. It's not the end of the world, but it was kind of a shock to me when looking for flights. As we make our descent into Idaho Falls, I'd just like to say that Allegiant did a great job on this flight. For it being my first time, I had no troubles whatsoever getting things organized and ready to go for this trip. Everything was super easy and relatively streamlined, and that's not something I can say for every airline. As thin and cheap as these seats are, I really didn't have a problem with them, even considering the fact that I proceeded to road trip 4 hours to Boise right after this flight landed. If you want to know my official review of this flight, be sure to stick around until we land.
Idaho Falls. The seatbelt sign will be your indication that it is safe to move about the cabin and gather your belongings. Please use caution when opening overhead bins. Items tend to shift during flight. Please refrain from smoking or vaping until inside the terminal, and only do so in designated areas. You may now use mobile phones or other handheld electronic devices. Please refrain from using laptop computers at this time. If you are claiming luggage in Idaho Falls, please follow the signs to baggage claim. Our uniform representatives will be happy to assist you regarding ground transportation or baggage claim.
Welcome to Idaho Falls. This flight was good. While it was not perfect, when you consider it was missing things like Wi-Fi and any real entertainment options, it really wasn't too bad for such a short flight. The base fare for this flight was around $63, but after seat assignment and a carry-on bag, that price ended up totaling about $118 for this flight, about a month before the day of travel. While that sounds like a lot in some cases, it was still the cheapest option getting home to Boise, even after the cost of the 4-hour drive. So, overall, with an easy-to-use website and app, professional customer service, and nothing to complain about, I'm going to give this flight a solid 8.5 out of 10. And to be clear, my ratings are based off the airline service type, which in this case would be based on ULCC standards, and not compared to the likes of United or Delta. Do you think I'm being too harsh, or maybe even too nice? Let me know in the comments, along with anything else you have to say. That's about all for me today, but be sure to tune in next time when I fly United's 737-900ER from Vancouver to Los Angeles. Until then, thanks for watching.
Temple where they live somewhere.